people living on the edge in this hurricane season face evacuation and worse. Coming up on the Weather Channel, we'll show you some of the most vulnerable people.
I'm Lisa Spencer. The Florida Keys stretch 150 miles into the Gulf of Mexico. Thousands call it home and thousands of tourists visit each year. But what happens when you mix an island paradise, a deadly storm, and only one road that leads to the mainland? In this installment of Hurricane Living on the Edge, the Florida Keys.
Tourism. It's the mainstay of Florida's economy. Today, throngs of people come from faraway places to soak in the scenery and climate of the Keys, but it wasn't always that way. In 1912, entrepreneur Henry Flagler's East Coast Railroad opened the gates to trade with Cuba and brought tourists from the north. A series of bridges and viaducts were constructed to support the railroad, a single line connecting the larger cities of the north to smaller settlements in the south. On September 2nd, 1935, a ferocious storm, the Labor Day hurricane, swept across the Keys, wiping out the railroad. Hundreds died. The reason? People were not able to evacuate in time by rail. The problem? Only one road led to the mainland. Flagler's Railroad was never rebuilt. Since then, other hurricanes have found their way to the Keys. But after all these years, the problem remains the same. There's only one way out. Today, US 1 traces the path of the East Coast Railroad.
The worst case scenario, I think, would be in the Keys having people attempting to evacuate and then actually have the routes cut off so they can't go any farther, and have people strung out for miles and miles on the highway, bumper to bumper in automobiles.
There is even some doubt as to whether officials could issue a warning giving people enough time to evacuate.
It isn't likely in some situations that they could give long enough warning, because the warnings are normally not given more than 24 hours in advance. And if you have a Category 4 or 5 hurricane, it is unlikely that you could get all the people out of there that the authorities would want to evacuate in that period of time.
Swift evacuation will be critical to save lives when a major hurricane aims for the Keys. According to the experts, the best thing to do is get out. If you wait until the last minute, it could be too late. If you don't get out, you may be putting yourself and your family at risk. Join us next time for a look at other major cities long overdue for a hurricane and the possible consequences. Until then, tune to the Tropical Update here on the Weather Channel at 47 minutes after every hour.
The Weather Channel keeps up to the minute on Hurricane Andrew, so you can too. Coming up, we'll give you the latest details.
Good evening. I'm Keith Westerledge here in the Weather Channel Forecast Center. We continue to watch a major hurricane head toward the southeast coast of Florida. That's Hurricane Andrew. Latest positions we have as of the 5 o'clock advisory from the National Hurricane Center. As you can see, a Category 4 storm because the barometric pressure, 927 millibars. It's gone up just a little bit, 25.4 degrees north, 76.5 degrees west. Winds still at 150 miles per hour. Notice it's 240 miles east of Miami, continuing on a westerly course at 16 miles per hour. You can see the center of the storm right here. We look to the west, that's Florida. And notice how the eye, it should be moving. I hope it's going to be moving. There we go. Heading right through the northern part of Eleuthera Island, and it's going to certainly cause some damage here. But the westward motion continues to concern us because as that is forecast to continue for the next 24 hours, it brings the center in here somewhere in the southeast coast of Florida. And we have Dennis Smith there live with the very latest information. Dennis Smith, what is going on down there in Coral Gables, Florida?
Right now, it doesn't seem like anything like a hurricane, but as we know and we can see from the satellite photographs that the Hurricane Andrew will continue to move on in. Some of the high-level clouds that you were seeing on the satellite photograph are just now starting to move in. We still have, it looks like, a lazy, hazy afternoon in August in South Florida. You can see some of the flag behind us snapping pretty good right now. Still, the winds are only about 15, maybe occasionally gusting up to about 20 miles an hour. Again, it looks nothing like a hurricane is going to be making landfall in this area later on tonight, early tomorrow morning.
All right, Dennis, they have evacuations for areas of the southeast coast of Florida. Where are you guys in relation to the evacuation orders?
We're around the Coral Gables area, and we're probably real close to the edge of where evacuation is necessary. I guess if there's anything that we're a little bit disturbed about is touring around here this afternoon is not too many people look like they're taking heed to what's going on. Earlier today, though, when we were back up towards Watson Island, we were showing the situation with cruise lines that were moving on out, not staying in port so they could ride it out or possibly get out of the way of the storm a little bit better than that. Also, we saw many scenes of people evacuating from Miami Beach, Watson Island, extending on out to Key Biscayne, and they were pulling on across the causeways to get back to the mainland. And most of the people were getting into the hotels or the evacuation centers, as many as 36 set up in the Dade County area and up through Broward County. So it looks like a lot of people are taking heed, but unfortunately a lot more are still out there from what we could see. Maybe as many as 1 in 10, 2 in 10 houses were boarded up at this hour.
And you say that some folks are taking heed to the evacuations, but it seems like most people are kind of nonchalant?
Yeah, I was a little disappointed. We just kind of did an unscientific survey driving through some of the areas close to the waterway, and I'd say maybe 1 in 2, 2 in 10, 1 in 10, 2 in 10 as far as the houses and account were boarded up and ready for this. A lot of the people just had their car out in the driveway and the windows unboarded or even untaped. So I don't know if some of these people are taking this seriously.
So what you say we should be saying is that this is a serious threat. Folks down there, if you're not paying attention, slap them up and say, let's go.
They're hearing about that, a lot of that from here as well, and I know the Weather Channel will continue to pump that message, and it should be urged very sincerely, because a lot of people think, well, this is one that's going to be coming through, and we've been through hurricanes or tropical storms before, but as you pointed out, this is a Category 4, so this is a serious storm.
All right, that's Dennis Smith live reporting from Coral Gables, Florida. Again, this is a serious storm. The third, tied for the third most severe to hit the U.S., and it's likely to be the most costly hurricane to ever hit the U.S. This is a serious storm. We will continue to watch it with live updates from Dennis Smith. John Hope will be coming in later this evening. We'll get some perspective from him. Right now, let's throw it back to the studio.
Hurricane Andrew continues to push toward the U.S. The Weather Channel has the information you need on the hurricane every hour. Stay with the Weather Channel.
I'm Lisa Spencer. When it comes to charm and style, few cities can compete with New Orleans. Its uninhibited spirit and openness of its people are a trademark. Openness, however, leads to vulnerability. In this edition of our series, Hurricane Living on the Edge, the city meteorologists call the #1 target for a killer hurricane, New Orleans.
Laissez les bon temps rouler. It's the unofficial motto of Louisiana. It means let the good times roll, and they do, especially in New Orleans. But luck may be running out for the city of good times. Many storms have come close to New Orleans. Hurricane Betsy in 1965 passed just to the west of the city. 58 people died, most from floods. The key to understanding why this city is so vulnerable is knowing its topography. Most of New Orleans lies about 5 to 6 feet below sea level and is surrounded by water. There's the Gulf of Mexico to the south, Lake Pontchartrain to the north, and the Mississippi River cuts through the center of town. One possible storm scenario is that a hurricane could approach the city with winds out of the north. That could potentially push water from Lake Pontchartrain over the levee and into the city. New Orleans is saucer-shaped. There is no natural way for water to drain. It has to be pumped out. The pumping stations can clear about an inch of water an hour from the streets. But if the storm is a strong Category 4 or 5 on the Saffir-Simpson scale, New Orleans could be inundated.
If the water comes over the levees, then it essentially turns the city into a lake that's at least 19 feet deep, 19 feet above sea level deep. And with the below sea level areas, there would be places that would be 25 and 30 feet deep.
That much water in the streets would disable the pumps. So what happens to those who can't evacuate or choose to stay and ride out the storm?
The person that stays is going to get trapped. They may survive, but if they're in a building or in their home or on a roof, it's going to take days and possibly weeks before someone can get to them and get them needed supplies. And that's no place to be if you've got a choice.
Hurricane Betsy taught New Orleans a lesson. That is, be prepared. Don't wait until the last minute to evacuate. Heed the warning. It's a lesson that, as of yet, has not been put to the test. Join us next time for a look at other major cities long overdue for a hurricane and the possible consequences. Until then, tune to the Tropical Update here on the Weather Channel at 47 minutes after every hour.